Do you,
gentlemen and ladies,
understand the implications of this episode of Cryptic Puzzle? Welcome. It's another one of these where
do
we're
you have any idea how much of your time we're going to waste?
Yeah, what else is new? That's kind of what we're here to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andy and I were thinking this week. Oh, by the way, I'm Tommy.
And I'm Andy.
Oh yeah, Andy forgot who he was for a second, so we had to give him a second, you know?
No, I was checking the stream, so I was listening to like what you were saying while I was queuing up
gotcha.
the words in my brain.
Like, hang on. There's two of him and there's one of me.
And today we're gonna do a retrospective of our channel and our streams, mostly because it kind of just dawned on us, or at least it dawned on me recently, like in one of our streams. It's like, oh yeah, we've been doing this for like well over a year, like a year and a half. And I was like, oh my god. And then I thought back to Sea of Stars and all these early games we played, and I was like, wouldn't it be fun to kind of go through all of the games we've talked about and kind of see how we feel about them now?
The game crashed.
And that's the night, ladies and gentlemen.
And there we go. And we're gonna try it again.
And we'll be right back. Let's cut to commercial.
That's very funny. Anyways, I believe we're still streaming. Okay, yep. Okay, yep.
Yeah,
yep.
we're still streaming.
All right, cool. All right, we're back. Maybe. We're gonna see how that what happens there exactly. Anyways, yeah.
This episode of Cryptic Puzzle brought to you by Blue Apron.
We are not sponsored by Blue Apron or anyone, in fact, unfortunately. But if you'd like to sponsor us, send a message to crypticpuzzlepod@gmail.com.
Don't. I don't care. I'm
actually not even sure if that's the email address. So don't send any emails to that because I'm not sure. I feel like I might have made that one up.
I don't want your sponsorship.
Yeah, so we were talking. He was like, "Oh yeah, we've been doing this for a while." And like when I look back at like the upload dates and everything, like we took a little bit of a break in there too. So part of it was like, well, you know, we've been doing it, and a year's not like a super long time, right? But it's long enough where sometimes you look back and you go, "Oh, wait a minute, I feel differently about this thing now." And so we're gonna kind of go back in reverse order, just to be like, hey, do we still feel the same now as we did then? And you know, I think for the most part we're gonna feel pretty similarly, but the parts where we don't might be fun. So
yeah, I want to start first. I want to list all the games, and I want to see your thoughts on if there's like a theme connecting all these games besides our taste. I'm curious now that I look at it, like, is there anything that stands out with our tastes or how these games are connected?
They're all single player games. There you go.
Treasure, huh?
There's your critical analysis, everyone.
Can I use it? So in reverse order, all the games we've played, talked about. Not all the games we've played. Jesus.
All the games we've ever played.
we played Undertale, Astrobot, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Elden Ring, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Another Crab's Treasure, Hades, Metroid Dread, Devil May Cry 5, and Cryptic Puzzle, and Sea of Stars,
and the podcast. Yep.
and possibly, I don't know if we probably don't want to count Final Fantasy Rebirth officially, but we did talk about that a bit, as well as Monster Hunter on the last one.
Yeah,
got into it,
those have mostly been the like kind of like what we're playing sort of things. Like I haven't finished Rebirth. I know you've rolled the credits on Wilds and you've been playing it for a while, but you know we didn't do like a whole episode on it, so we can talk about those things. But I feel like those will be more like the ongoing stuff rather than the retrospective stuff, you know.
Yeah, I do feel like I noticed, with the exception of Undertale and Sea of Stars, these are all like very action-heavy games. They're all very action-focused, high-dexterity games, you know?
Yeah, man. It's because we like them types of games. You can tell that it's our thing, is give me the controller, make it feel good in my hand, and I'm probably going to play it to the end, you know? So
Yeah, that's you and me for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so do we want to talk about Undertale first?
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna say too much different about Undertale. It's still a top 5 all-time game for me. I still almost cried on the podcast talking about it, and did cry while playing it. You know, I don't know. I don't know if there's more to say about Undertale than what we already did, because we went on in that one for a while, didn't we? If I remember right. I can't remember.
We did, yeah, and we both, that game's very personal to both of us, I think, and it's a really special game. I think I think the thing that stands out to me about when I replayed Undertale is an immensely special game. It still feels modern, but like I feel like at the time I played Undertale, it sort of blew my mind in that it like was so new and so different and smashed all of my expectations of like what an RPG like that could be. And it's not to say that it aged poorly or something, because that's not true, but I feel like since Undertale has come out, I've played so many games that have done that exact thing in my brain that have made me go like, "Oh my god, this is such a mind-blowing bigger experience," or like more ambitious than like any other kind of game I've played, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I think that's to say mostly not as much a reflection of Undertale as a game, but I think more a reflection of, man, has it really been like a cool time to play video games? Like, don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of like awful things that have happened in the industry, but the last like 10 years of video games, there has been so much crazy, groundbreaking, amazing stuff in like all genres. So yeah, I think the fact that you feel that way about a bunch of stuff, it's just a good thing. And you know what? Maybe that's not totally true, because you always look back and play older games anyway. You very
That's
rarely
true.
are
But
playing like the brand newest thing.
that's true. It like that time in my life when I played Undertale feels so quaint by comparison to like today in terms of just what gaming looks like and what is out there, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there was, because that came out at the end of 2015. Yeah, that game is gonna turn 10 this year, which is crazy.
Wow.
And oh, hold on. Oh, cool. I did it. I beat the level. I killed the cactuar, and we did it. Good job, everyone. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it
it's been
just
out
I
for
don't
10 years, and I think that was also like 2015 seemed to be like a year, at least in my memory. And this may or may not be actually objectively true, of like in the middle of like a huge indie boom, where like we were
yeah.
finally getting like a bazillion games that all seemed like excellent from small studios and some Kickstarters and blah blah blah, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it just I mean, it's amazing. Like what else can you say except it's amazing? But it's cool that like it's still this like cultural touchstone for like especially kids. That's the thing that always surprises me is like you can bring up Undertale in front of a group of kids and they're like, "You know what Undertale is?" And I'm like, "Bro, that game is 10 years old. Like it is not even a little bit in the mainstream, you know? Like you wouldn't think kids would be so obsessed with it, but it still remains this like rock, you know?
Yeah, do not cite the dark magic, you know.
Do not what?
Do not cite the dark magic at me, which I was there when it was written. The It's a thing.
Oh,
Yeah, you know
yes.
that one. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
yeah.
from Rocky 4. Yeah, I remember.
Rocky 4. Oh no. Oh, that got me really good. Oh, the
Yeah,
Chronicles of Rocky 4. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay. All right.
I don't
Back
know.
on
I
it.
was happy to play Undertale again. I'm always like that's the other thing too is I remember booting up Undertale and being like, "Oh, I'm so excited to do nothing but play Undertale for the next 4 days," and it just brought me so much joy. I
Yeah,
love
I
that
played
game.
that game a whole bunch of times before, and it had been quite a while. So when we were doing this podcast, it was like, oh, yeah, that's a great reason for me to go back and play this game that I really love and played a whole bunch of times, you know. I'm gonna sound like a
Yeah.
crazy person if I just go, what if I play it for like the 10th time now? Just cuz, you know,
Yeah.
just for no reason.
All right. Get game number 2. Put up the graphic unless you want to talk more about
I don't
Undertale.
have graphics. We only have I'm not this is a pretty low production operation, Andy.
Put up the graphics. Astrobot.
Wow. Also, very, very good game. I only played one of the because they've been adding them challenge level things. That have been
Oh yeah.
themes and new bots and everything. I only played the first one when they released that, and they've released a whole bunch more since. I should probably go back and play those now that there's like a bunch of them to play, because that was my plan, was to just go back and eventually, you know, play a bunch of them in a row, because that's more fun than just like, all right, cool, I'll wait 1 month to play this thing for like 2 minutes to get to that level.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what's dawning on me as I see the title? Is it weird that Astrobot isn't short for anything? Is it like, should it be like Astronaut Bot or something? Should it be short? Feels
Wait,
like weirdly short, doesn't it?
what do you? What?
It just, I don't know. As I say
And,
it
all right,
feels like
Andy.
it's short
Andy,
for something.
I'm gonna throw out there are multiple games in this list with the exact same cadence as Astrobot. There's also Elden Ring and Metroid Dread.
And Prince of Persia,
Yeah, exactly.
another crab.
Another crab.
Oh, that's too many.
Another.
You know, I guess since I don't know if when we did our episode on Astrobot, it was already like Game of the Year and like superbly acknowledged by everyone, but it definitely feels like, you know, months later, not that much longer later, to be honest. It feels like Astrobot definitely deserves all of the amazing recognition that it got.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad that people didn't immediately just go like, and we'll never talk about Astrobot again, because that would have been a bummer. You know.
Did it end up selling really well? Because I remember us talking about it and you being like, I don't think it sold amazingly well, even though it was.
That was the like really early, like crazy early numbers, and then eventually a whole bunch of other stuff came out that was like it was the best selling like 3D platformer that wasn't a Nintendo game in the last like 10 or 15 years or something like that. I was like, oh, okay, so it must have done pretty good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like too, if Astrobot, again, I'm thinking a lot about the younger generation, but I feel like if Astrobot does it right or Sony plays it right, this might be like, imagine being 6 and playing this game and it like changing your whole life. And it's like, what? It's the only one? Like, if in 2 years we get another Astrobot or like another set of games like this, I feel like this could be like a whole new, could be sort of like a whole new era moving forward, you know? It feels like it brought back the really like kid-friendly, colorful game 3D platformer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust the industry to do anything based on what people actually like. So I hope you're correct. Because people did really react positively to Astrobot, and the correct takeaway from that is, hey, you should make more games like this one that give you those warm fuzzy feelings, and that it does the specific creative things that it does really well, you know? But I don't know. I'm not banking on the industry that is like, hey, unless you literally make the next Fortnite, we're gonna fire you.
Yeah.
Which
right.
will never happen. You know, like it's just not. That's just currently where the industry is. So like, I have a feeling that that whole like, hey, the past 10 years have been pretty good for video games. I have a feeling that's gonna turn for the worse. Not that far in the future, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just because there's a bunch of stuff that's got to be in the pipeline right now, you know. But you know, those. Oh my gosh, there's an avalanche, and I died. No, I didn't die.
Oh.
Interesting.
But
Anyways,
you
yeah,
know,
the layouts will eventually catch up with like that rash of games that would have come out on that schedule, you know. And
Yeah.
we're gonna see less stuff, and the stuff that does come out probably not gonna be as good on average.
Yeah, and I feel like too the lesson that Sony should take away is, and this is something I say every time I play Astrobot, like after hearing some interviews with the creators about the game and stuff, like I'll be playing it and my wife will be hanging out with me and I'll just turn and I'll say to her and I'll be like, can you believe this is considered like a low fidelity game? Like the creators were like, yeah, we strove to make something really low fidelity, and I'm like, this game looks unbelievably good. Like, so I feel like the lesson Sony could have taken away is we can make games that look and feel amazing at like an affordable price that people will really love. And if we pump out 10 of those, we'll be on easy street. You know what I
That
mean?
would be the ideal for people to realize that you don't have to spend $300 million to make a video game and then be shocked when you don't make all your money back in like the first like 6 seconds of release, you know? It's always, that's, you know, I don't remember how much we went on about it before, but like, you know, the Insomniac inexplicably remade all of New York City in Spider-Man 2. And redid like all the animations, and that game cost that $300 million number didn't come from nowhere, because that's what that game cost.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no reason for it to do that, and then they're like, I can't believe that it just didn't make as much money as we thought. Like, I don't know, man. When you put in $100 million, that doesn't mean you just automatically get $300 million more dollars of output. That's just not how it works. That's not how any of it works.
Yeah.
But that is how the people making decisions think right now. I promise you, anyone who thinks it's more complicated than that, you're fooling yourself. They're not
Yeah.
that smart. I've been in. I'll keep my mouth shut.
You know, the other thing about Astrobot that like comes to me immediately when I think about it is like I don't want this to come off negative, but like, I don't know, we're in our 30s, and like I feel very blessed to play a lot of video games, and I feel very like I like trying new video games, especially like a lot of budget indie games, and like I feel like there's so many good choices now that like sometimes you play a game and you're like, all right, it's just all right or whatever, and it's like fine and it's fun, but like Astrobot struck me like in a time of like, man, I have not loved a video game this much probably in years. Like, it struck me so immediately and it struck me so strongly that I was like, this, like, video games have so much like love and fun to offer, and like, I don't know, it really brought me back to gaming in like a huge new way, sort of on the inside, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's, if I remember right, I probably used the overused phrase of like, you know, Astrobot reminded me why I like video games kind of thing, right? But it's less about that it reminded me why I like video games, and it's more of it took me back to a time when, you know, when it goes, okay, cool 3D platformer that's making me feel a novel thing for the first time, on some level, right? You get the cool controller effects and everything with Astrobot, and, you know, when I was playing Crash Bandicoot back in, you know, 96 or 97 or whatever it was, that was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe games are in 3D, you know, like that was where we were at. So having like all those, like, what's the new parallel? I think Astrobot very deliberately and explicitly was like, what if we tried to just do what games were good at when they were simpler, you know? And, and I think they succeed at it really well, you know?
Yeah, it prioritizes fun in a way that I feel like a lot of games, they don't prioritize fun. Fun is part of it, but it's like we want to make a huge immersive world with deep characters and lore, and Astrobot was just simply like, what if we could make this game as fun as possible all of the time? And yeah, like how video games used to be back in my day.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly because everyone decided that after The Last of Us came out that everything needed to be, and you know what, you're saying like deep characters and lore and blah blah blah. I think that's what these suits think they're doing by making something have like cinematic camera angles and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but like your writing and everything is usually still like bad. So like it's not deep characters or lore. It's like you decided that you were going to put a big budget behind an equally terrible idea. Like that didn't make it interesting or better. It just made it, I don't know, maybe a little more interesting to look at. But that's about it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have to say about Astrobot. I still love it. Maybe a top 3 game for me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's real good. I hope we get more from Team Asobi. Isn't it amazing that support team for Bloodborne all the way back in the day ended up getting their own studio and they made that game? You know, that was 10 years ago. Bloodborne came out.
Bloodborne
Came out. Well, of course, Bloodborne came out 10 years ago, like yesterday. So
That's crazy.
yeah. So I'm glad those guys are still around, still making games, because they deserve it.
Game number 3.5. Put up the graphic.
That's, you know, you keep saying put up the graphic and I make a sound like,
It's an audio graphic.
yeah, that's how that works. Hope you have
Elden Ring.
synesthesia.
I do.
Nice. This is an
Nice.
unhinged episode, guys. This is I don't know what's going on.
This is what I always wanted the show to be, because I don't know why. Put a mic in front of my face, I just get unhinged.
I've been working a lot of hours. I'm tired. The horrors persist, but so do I. Here we are. You know, that's it. That's where we are. So, welcome. I say multiple. How much in this podcast are we? Who knows?
Elden Ring and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. I'm gonna kick it over to you, Tommy, and have you kick this off.
Oh, you mean literally my favorite thing of anything that's ever been created ever? Do you think I feel differently about it now? No.
Well,
I don't. I still love it. I am admittedly like I think I need a little bit of space from it just because of how much I've played it in the last, however long now. But I think that's just a healthy choice in general. It's really not a reflection of Elden Ring. More so how much I have unhealthily dedicated a huge percentage of my life to playing it.
yeah, well, which is hilarious because as we've discussed in recent episodes, I, at some point during us playing this game for the podcast, I became an Elden Ring sicko. And, like, currently...
Yeah,
I'm
I said mean things to you. I was like, "Yo, what's wrong with you, dude? You're playing so much Elden Ring."
Currently, in my Steam Deck playthrough, I just beat. Is it Morgott? Is that the one? The second one?
Yeah, he says, "Thy kind are all of a piece."
Glowy sword Magoo.
Emboldened by the flame of ambition.
I beat him. And then, like, in my PlayStation 1, I feel like I'm, like, may have even beaten, like, Stormveil. So I'm just, like, in a perpetual, oh, hey, it's my wife.
Hello, wife.
Emboldened by the flame of ambition.
Dude, every single thing he says in the entire game is incredible. All of his lines are fire. No.
Me?
No, Morgott.
Emboldened by the flame of going to Lowe's to run some errands.
Nice. And then she says, "Have it writ upon thy meager grave."
So yeah, I've become a sicko where, like, now if I'm ever, like, because I'm kind of like being a Monster Hunter sicko right now, and I'm like mainlining Monster Hunter. But I feel like if I'm not mainlining a game obsessively, I can just pick up Elden Ring for like days at a time, and I just plug away at it in a way that I find relaxing. And that's the thing that I can't seem to figure out is, like, I don't know the distinct point that I went from like hating it to like liking it, but then to being like, no, I think I hate this. And that was like when I beat it the first time. And then we played it for the show the second time, and I was like, all right, I feel like I'm turning around on this game, but I still kind of feel like somewhat negative about it. And then after we did our episode 7 and 8 is when I just kind of went and I just started playing it in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I don't know what the tipping point was or what the feeling was that changed my mind.
Yeah, we've gone like over this like a number of different times, and I think that's the reason why there is no like specific thing, is that it's like the slow culmination of all the individual things where you're like, oh wait, actually that's really good. I like that, I think. And then it was well, I can just vibe and play this while sitting on the couch with my wife and explore because the world is cool and I like running around in it. And then just like the piece by piece, all the things said, and you're like, wait a minute. Actually, as it turns out, I only dislike that I think the bosses are too hard. That's pretty much the
Yeah.
only thing that you can ever expressly tell me that you're like, yeah, I don't think this is my favorite part. That's the only time you ever expressly say something negative. The rest is always like, yeah, and then this was cool, and then this was cool. I'm like, all right, cool.
And
If you only dislike one element of the game, I think you like it. You know?
yeah, and I don't even think I dislike the bosses anymore, really. I think
Wait, hold on. This is news to me, and actually very,
well,
very major, if that's
there
true.
because here's the thing, all right, is there's a great Daryl Talks Games video that we've talked about where like he asks the question, are you playing a video game to have fun? Or are you playing a video game? No. He says, are you playing a video game to have a good time, or are you playing a video game to avoid having a bad time? And I
Yeah, this is
think,
the same psychological phenomenon as, yeah, are you doing something to make you happy or doing something to avoid anxiety? From a mental
yeah,
health perspective,
and I think the fact that I've beaten the game at all takes off that pressure when I am fighting the bosses because they can be frustrating and they can be too hard. But I have a little bit of that sometimes where like I'm playing a game and I feel like I'm trying to avoid having a bad time like when I fight the bosses that are too hard and like because I know I've done it once and I know that I can beat Elden Ring and I've beat it like effectively twice, it's like, well, like if I don't beat the boss right now, who cares? Like there's no like it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? I have accomplished it.
Well, see, that's the thing is, well, and that's, I think, what's interesting about, like, the only thing that changed there is the mentality shift, because that was literally always true. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean? Like, that nothing actually changed, you just view it differently now,
Yeah,
which is
but I
neat.
guess the question is when I was playing it for the first time is like, do I like this? Like, am I gonna like this? Am I into the philosophy of the games, like game design? Like, is this for me? You know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense? What I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but I feel like kind of what we kept landing on like over and over again all the times we were like, I think I hate this game, and I was like, but everything you said makes it sound like you like it, which says to me, and this is just as an outside observer, is that like it seems like you did gel with the design philosophy like from the jump, but just were so overwhelmed by all that it was and is and will be, and then also the bosses, which wasn't helping that front. And then eventually you're just like, wait a minute, I do like this. I've liked it the whole time. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's like a, it's
you're
like
right. I
it's like
mean,
I watch you have like a whole like personal journey.
yeah, I mean, you're totally right that it is just a mentality shift, but I think that's really ultimately like the biggest thing I can point to is that there was a certain point where it was just like, I have beaten it and so now I'm just doing it for fun. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like I'm not beating it to cuz I don't know, that is an accomplishment to just be like I beat Elden Ring and it didn't defeat me or whatever. So when I know that I've done it, it's like, well, I'm not doing it for any accomplishment or whatever. I'm just having fun running around.
Yeah, and that's on some level that's kind of been the design ethos of theirs to begin with, is you will only ever get out of those games what you put into it, right? And you can play whatever build you want, but like even like thematically, the way that those games have always been set up, you have your, oh, my main character has the weird immortality curse, and we've maybe talked about this a little bit in the past, I can't remember, but the pretext of what that is in Dark Souls was the concept of hollowing. And basically, once you have no more purpose, like fundamentally, and you have given up, you pretty much just turn into like a husk of a human being, where you see like the skeleton people, they just look like it's skin draped over like an actual skeleton type of person. Because the idea of you going hollow in those games is you never turning it back on and loading that save again, is that you caved and gave up. you know,
Yeah, right.
or you can beat it. So
Yeah. And I think too, like thematically, I think I've come to appreciate the the games are like purposefully obtuse and they're purposefully obtuse, and they don't give the player all of the information all of the time. And like, because they do that, there's probably a time when I thought that was like frustrating, but like, because they do that, the world becomes very organic to explore. And like, talking to other people about the game means you sort of like have this shared world to like uncover with other people. And so I don't know, it's like, and that stands in contrast in my mind to like Monster Hunter. Not to make everything about Monster Hunter, but like, in Monster Hunter, you can like look up, like, I'm gonna go into the field guide and look at the details about this monster, and the monster will be like, it'll be like, this monster is, weak to fire, so you probably want to craft a fire weapon. And like, generally in Monster Hunter, when you get bodied by like some giant attack that wipes most of your health, you're like, well, that was pretty well telegraphed, and I learned very explicitly like what to do next time. Where like, I don't know, just Dark Souls and Elden Ring are not that straightforward, and I've come to like enjoy that about the games and not be frustrated by it as much as I used to.
yeah, it's once you realize that like it is all part of the intended experience kind of thing, rather than you know failure feels bad in video games a lot of the time, right? You're like, if you played a game and you're like, oh my god, I did it and I never died, and it felt awesome the whole time. I feel so good at video games, right? And then you play Dark Souls or a FromSoft game, a game where people's perception of the difficulty was so notorious that they named the first re-release of Dark Souls the Prepare to Die edition. You know,
Yeah.
like that's that because death is an intended part of the experience. You're gonna die, and that's okay. It's not. It's just a thing that's gonna happen as you're learning how things work. You know, there's a set of
Yeah.
rules, and they're not telling you what it is, and you're just gonna go figure it out. And you can
Yeah.
figure it out as long as you want to until you get to the end of the game, if you want, or not, or you could just not. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely just a vibe. Like, that's my feeling now when I play Elden Ring, is it's just a vibe. The world is a vibe. I enjoy playing it and smacking dudes, and like, I'll probably continue to play it on and off. It's just become like a comfort game for me, which I never thought I would say. Never.
Yeah, isn't it crazy, the idea of this game, that most people are like, yeah, I play this game and I have a bad time a lot of the time because I get frustrated at the bosses, and then you're like, yeah, but feels good to play though. I'm gonna boot it up again tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else to say about Elden Ring, we could probably go to the next game.
Yeah, well, we already have 2 episodes that are like 2.5 hours long each on it, so yeah. As far as anything new to say, not really. you know.
Game number 4.
Number 4.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yeah, yo, this game, really unfortunate that they decided to absorb all these people into just basically going into the Call of, well, not the Call of Duty mines because it's Ubisoft, but you know what I mean. Effectively, that to go work on other stuff as a support studio. Because this game was really
Yeah.
good. And I still think really fondly of it. And what I should do, and my main reason for not doing it at this point, is because I bought this game on the Epic Store on PC, and I haven't installed that on my new computer yet because I think I refuse to. I don't really want to do it because there's like a cheap DLC expansion that kind of tells you where one of those Immortals characters in the beginning, I can't remember the name of their group, they just kind of disappear partway through the game and you just don't see them anymore. And as it turns out, it's because they made that DLC.
That's awesome.
So yeah, apparently the DLC was pretty good. More stuff. I think it was the expectation that it was like gonna scale past like what the base game was, so it'd be like intended for someone who liked the base game and probably did some exploration and did all that stuff and yada yada and wanted more and a little bit more of a challenge. That was the vibe I got from what I read about it very briefly, but I have not played it. I might. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do a. You know what? I'm gonna posit it right now. Maybe in the future we do a. Hey, we did go back to some of these games because there was new stuff or active changes, and we're gonna talk about what those were. and this would be one of them games on the lists, you know?
Wow.
So the Earth crystal's
Not to
in
be
here
ADHD,
somewhere,
but I
right?
want to share another game in between or after we finish because I
It does.
realized it's out. But yeah, it would be cool to revisit the DLC at some point and come back to it, especially because, like you said, a number of these have those now.
Yeah. All right. Well, what other thing were you thinking of? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's off topic. I'll share it later.
All right, we'll
Um,
get there later. You got to
yeah.
remind me to remind you to
All right,
remind
I'll
the
keep it.
audience of this thing that you're excited about, you know?
I'll keep it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this game. This game's similar to Astrobot. It didn't like remind me that I loved games in a big way, but it did make me feel like I still loved Metroidvanias because I feel like in the last few years I've played so many lukewarm Metroidvanias that I'm just like, and
Well, it's
and
because
that's
there's
sad
about
for me.
900 million of them that exist out there
Yeah.
now, and it's not really like even if 800 million of them are at least all right, you know, at a certain point you're like, well, I think I'm okay. I think that's enough.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
enough.
think
You know, that's enough chicken fingers. I'm good. I don't want to eat any more chicken fingers.
yeah, part of it is me, I think, but part of it does feel like they're just most of them don't live up to like what I want a Metroidvania to be, but this game totally does, and I think it has some problems. Like I didn't love it 100%, but like it felt a lot like Metroid Dread to me. Weirdly, it was like, oh cool, like a AAA quality Metroidvania with like a lot of good ideas and I don't know, a decent main cast and pretty good voice acting. Like this is definitely a game I would replay because it just felt so good. Like I loved the combat.
Yeah, it was like everything polished to a mirror sheen when it came to like the mechanics. I also thought like that combat was like it would have been good enough to be its own standalone. It didn't have to be a Metroidvania. This could have just been some kind of action game with that combat system, and I still would have thought it was a great game.
Yeah, I remember that being our big revelation is we were both kind of like, yeah, well, I actually don't need all of the backtracking. I could have just played a level-based game and it would have been super, super fun.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, I think for the most part, they do a good thing with the Metroidvania thing, just because, like, the movement's also really good, and so the fact that they were able to, like, design maps and levels around that kind of stuff definitely made it, like, a positive choice, I think, design-wise, but yeah, I think that game does a lot of things incredibly well. The only thing that, and maybe I did say this during the episode, I feel like the story itself was kind of forgettable. Like things were happening and I recognized people's faces and they'd show up and it'd be like, oh, I gotta fight that guy now probably. And then I would.
Yeah.
And then you just do that until the game is over. You know?
I thought
that's how
the
I felt
story
about it
was-
at least.
Yeah, I thought the story was like for a Metroidvania exactly what I wanted it to be. Like
It was
yes,
there.
the story. Yeah, it was there and I liked the characters and I feel like there were maybe some plot holes, but like overall, like when you got to the final boss, I had this epic feeling of like, cool, I'm excited to. He seems terrifying and he feels cool to fight, and I don't know. I don't really want a Metroidvania to have a huge story in the first place, so it. Man, you keep getting stabbed by those spears.
I
my
sure
guy.
did. Yeah, I sure
like
did.
4 times.
Well, because I keep like looking at other monitors and stuff, and then I just start running around with the stick, and I just run right into that trap like 3 times.
That like exact one too. But yeah, story wise, it kind of it was fine. I wanted it exactly to do what it did. I was into it.
Yeah, and here's as story wise, I don't know, maybe something in the DLC is like super cool or something like that. I don't know, maybe. Give them the benefit of the doubt there. That said, you know, it always feels like a bummer to be like, yeah, this thing was like there and not really give them any credit because like, I don't know, man. I gotta say, I was pretty excited when I realized that the bad guy was just Virgil from Devil May Cry. I was like,
Pretty
oh.
much.
It was like he does a dimension slash and everything. Okay, awesome. Nice.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it was cool. I liked that the whole twist of like he could use time on you because everyone was like, it's like, you know, that's the whole Prince of Persia thing. And so when he used it against you, I thought that was such like an epic, terrifying moment.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that's always the fun part with the rival fight type of thing. It's just like, can they actually do exactly what you do, and oftentimes better? Because that's usually interesting. At least
Yeah.
in my opinion, because then you not only know all their tricks, but you know how effective they are. And when you realize that somebody's just beating up on you with all the stuff that you've been using the whole game, it's one of those like, all right, yep, I guess in universe I am that strong, huh? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So should we move on to Dark Soul but Crab?
Yeah, another Crab's Treasure. That game that I booted up yesterday because I thought there was a New Game Plus update that I was going to start up and realized that that update is not out yet. So, yeah, another Crab's Treasure. So what I did instead was we talked about how there's the accessibility option where you can just give them a gun. And I shot the final boss in the face just so I could watch the ending again because I love the ending to that game. It's so good.
Yeah.
What a great game, and I'm actually like really looking forward to that New Game Plus update. They said that they are adding. There's gonna be, I think, new enemies, new of the I can't remember what the like special abilities on the right trigger were called, but whatever those were, new stuff and new enemy layouts and everything. So it'll be like an actual different playthrough, kind of. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that actually sounds right up my alley. That's one of my favorite ways to do New Game Plus or increase difficulties or whatever. So yeah, man, probably give another Crab's Treasure another look sometime in the near future.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. I feel like I've cooled a little bit on this game in my memory. I feel like I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I was when it released. But then you reminded me of how great the ending is, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot how great the ending is."
The whole like the ending is a really incredible, like one of my favorite endings to anything because it's a great cap on on other ways like I know aesthetically it looks like it would be more like a kids game or like a like a mascot platformer back in the day where you play like one of the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or something like that. It kind of gives like that aesthetic to it, but it's actually kind of a really sad game about environmentalism and people not caring and how you got to care and you got to do stuff to support other people and how the world can be kind of terrible but that you got to keep moving on. Like it's like in terms of like the souls thing, it like it really just does a like, what if it was explicitly environmental, and they just really leaned on that specific packaging of that message. But it's like, I don't know, even thematically it's similar to like the Souls games, in its own weird way.
Yeah, and I remember too specifically the character growth that happens to the main character and thinking that it was like super touching and it like affected me very deeply. And yeah,
Andy, I gotta say, when I watched that again yesterday, yeah, I had a little moment of like, man, I knew I liked this ending, but like, it feels like somebody socked me in the chest this time watching it right now. It was one of those like, I think I needed to watch that again. So if you haven't done it in a while, probably after this, go do that, because
I think I'm going to be honest with you.
yeah, it's you know what, or better yet, do exactly what I did, boot that bad boy up, put the gun on the crab, shoot the final boss in the face. He will die with one bullet in one phase, and then you shoot him one more time in the next phase. And yeah, you should just do it. What a great game. What a great game. And I'm actually like, I know that you said that you were starting to let's talk about why you were feeling, I guess, a little bit less less hot on it, I guess.
Bullish.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Less bullish.
Less bullish,
I, I guess, I don't know, and maybe if I turned the game on and started playing it again, I would change my mind, but like, I remember liking the combat, and that's kind of it. Like, when I think about playing that game, I remember the starting area being really cool, and there was like stuff to explore, and then I kind of just remember like the rest of the game being like, cool, well, you're in a new zone, go do it again. There's like some platforming and some enemies, and then they're like, cool, here's another zone, do some platforming and some enemies. And I feel like maybe my memory is doing a bad assessment of what that game is. Like, I feel like as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, my memory is failing me. But when I think about actually playing through it, I remember just like having a decent time.
Yeah, I think part of what that is that that game is, while I think it's like cutesy, and I dig the art style and the aesthetic of what it is, but it's not nearly as visually distinctive as all the other games arguably in this whole list that we're talking about, and certainly not as distinctive as an actual From Software game. You know, like one of the huge, enormous strengths of From Software is all of their character and level and world design is amazing, like all the time, like industry leading, incredible type thing. And another Crab's Treasure is, you know,
Good level design.
it's a yeah, I mean, it's a Unity game made by an indie studio, you know? And that's not bad, right? It's not like it's hideous and I can't look at it, but you know, there was no moment in another Crab's Treasure where I went and I took like a 5-minute elevator ride down from like what was outside just grassy a moment ago, and then look up into the sky and see stars, you know, like there was nothing like that in another
Yeah.
Crab's Treasure, you know.
But even then, as I say it, I feel like I'm unfairly assessing the game too, because there were like a lot of moments where, like, especially in the sands between, where you're like, I'm gonna go off this way and just see if there's anything. And I was like, there are many times I was very surprised that there was something cool to discover. So I think the level design and the world design is very well done in a lot of ways, and I don't know why it like has cooled in my memory, but maybe someday I'll play it again when I have the itch for a Souls-like game, and I'll change my mind and be like, no, this game actually rules. But I mean, it does rule. I liked it and I had fun with it, and I kind of feel like that's the beginning and the end of my feelings. like, a
Yeah, and
couple
here's
years
the thing.
later.
I think I'll elbow you when the New Game Plus update comes out, because I kind of want to also revisit it, because I don't have as many distinctive memories of the game. Like, to me, it was like it's like the most 4 out of 5 game I can think of.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
how I'm gonna define that. It didn't like change my life, you know. It's definitely better than just your average. Yeah, you could have fun with this. I still think that it does a lot of things incredibly well, and it's a style of game that I really, really enjoy. So to me, it's like a shining example of what I would call 4 out of 5 on my rating scale for how I would recommend things to people. You know. Now all that
Yeah,
said, even a 3 out of 5 is something I would still probably tell people to experience if it's generally their kind of thing. You know. So.
Yeah, it's a good game, and I also think it's fine that it's just a great game and it executed on everything it kind of promised that it would, you know?
Yeah, it ends up playing almost like not necessarily greatest hits. I think that's a little reductive. It's learned a lot of good lessons from all the games that came before it, and then decided to do its own unique combination of things with it, you know? Because I can't think of anything that does the platforming the way that they did in combination with all that other stuff, you know? So,
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see whatever comes next from this team. Like, this is just going to be I feel very confident that this team is going to make a really great second game, whatever it is.
yeah, I would love another Crab's Treasure too. I don't know if that'll happen, but I'm with you on just something that they make, because it, like, if I had to guess, because I actually don't remember what their first game actually was, because they did make a game before another Crab's Treasure. I'm not thinking of what it is.
Did they?
Yeah. I would look it up,
Dark
but
Soul?
I'm beating this Dark Skeleton up.
What if Dark Soul but Crab though?
Dude, it's such a good game. Such a great.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little harder. I'm pretty sure the only fight I like died against, like, for reals, when I was like, oh man, I just did it wrong and he beat me, was like literally the final boss.
Yeah, the final boss was tough. What about the punchy shrimp guy who was like the ninja shrimp? He was tough. He was like the first boss that you had to like parry effectively or you were gonna lose.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I had an issue with that. Even the like secret boss thing, I don't think I'm pretty sure I first tried that. Yeah, I don't know. I remember distinctly saying that I thought that I would have wanted it to be harder, and you were like, no, it should be exactly what it is, and so I think that's fine.
I agree, especially because I feel like they're going for something that's more kid friendly or more accessible to people.
Yeah, well, now that said, aside from the gun thing, the sys mode in there has like a whole bunch of stuff. Like there's everything from like pick up your microplastics or just like never drop them when you die or increase the parry window timing, blah blah blah. So to me, I think the main reason why I thought that I'd be like, well, you could just make the game like harder by default because you have so many options to make it even more easier. And I already thought it was about as easy as I would have ever wanted it to be, you know? So you already had options to turn it in the other direction, just not more, you know? So maybe New Game Plus or something will change that too. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, by that logic, you should make every game insanely hard then and just give them easier options.
Yeah.
The next
No.
time we need
Yeah.
a breather.
Just make everything really hard, and then make all the baby people just be like pick easy, and then do the old school gaming thing where they make the easy difficulty called like stupid baby person who should feel bad about themselves difficulty, like they used to do. You know? Remember that?
Maybe?
You know, like if you booted up Doom right now, all the difficulty names are like hurt me plenty and blah blah blah. You know, they're
Oh,
not
right,
like
yeah.
hard or easy. It's like it's all like phrases, and then the easiest ones are always like you're stupid and probably can't even tie your own shoes. It's like, oh, okay. Why would I
Yeah,
pick
this
that
is
one?
something. This is definitely something. I don't remember what game we were talking about, but I remember you getting on my case to be like, well, yeah, you could just play it on easy mode, and I'm like, yeah, but I won't do that. I want the normal mode to be perfectly tuned. I know that is the most unreasonable thing, but that is like a bug in my brain. Is I want to play every game on normal mode. Unless it's too easy, I might play on hard, but that's pretty rare for me.
Yeah, I default to normal or like one tick above whatever normal is, depending on what game it is and the tuning. But like, I guess like on some level, I understand where you're coming from in that like you're like I want normal to just like be what it is and work because like on some level there has to be like an intended experience, right? Like a primary way of everything to be balanced that they want most people to feel X way, right? Like as many people
Yeah.
as they can, and that's what like normal would be. Oh, okay, well you can't go that way. You're about
Yeah,
to see me
and like again, this is completely unreasonable, but if normal mode is too hard or too easy, I don't want to change the setting. I want to just be like, well, they did a bad job of of balancing the game. Like even though it could very well be me, like I don't want to do that. I want to play a game and just be like, well, they nailed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for the most part, games are pretty good about doing that now. And I will say,
Yeah.
I think a lot of when games give like very explicit descriptions of what's changing in the difficulties and why, I have seen the phrase intended experience in those difficulty descriptions before, usually on normal. So I think most developers and stuff are already kind of in line with like my personal preference for that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But that said, you know, that's clearly not always the case. So, yeah.
All right. Moving on. Next up is Hades.
Oh my gosh, the game I
graphics.
almost was playing on stream instead of this one, but this one's working, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, this is interesting that we're like doing a retrospective on this game because when this game came out, when we talked about it, it was already a retrospective because it was so old at that point.
And we had already played the crap out of it, and we were going to play more of it. So, yeah, I guess you're right. That is kind of true already. So, what we could do instead is talk about Hades 2, which I haven't played. So we can't actually
Yeah,
talk
me
about
neither.
Hades 2.
I don't, and you know, this is another. I don't know if I'm gonna play Hades 2. Is that insane?
I think that is insane because of how good Hades 1 is and how people are already talking about how good Hades 2 is. I don't think it's insane because I own Hades 2 and I haven't played Hades 2 because it's still in early access. And I, having heard about other people who like started playing, because this is what I would do. I would pick it up and I would play it for a little while. And I'd be like, this is really cool. I can't believe I'm playing this game. It's not really technically totally out yet. And it's pretty good, even though it's not finished. And then I'd put it down. And then they'd do so many huge patches. And then I'd come back. And the game would be so different that I'd just be confused. And when you do that with early access stuff and you're like in the middle of like, if I played a bunch of the game, sometimes it messes up progression because they're like, oh, well, we added stuff in content that you already beat and can't go back to type of thing. And like, you know what? I'm just going to wait for 1.0 to actually play it. In the meantime,
I think
I'm just going to wait and be glad that I gave Supergiant my money already because they're awesome and they deserve it.
Yeah, and I think that's a fine personal preference. I think the thing that's cool about early access, at least for the development side, is like I think that had a lot to do with why Hades 1 was successful because they had built this community of people and they had really listened to that feedback. So I'm sort of with you in that if I'm going to play it, I'm going to play 1.0 and just call it a day.
Yeah, and I mean they credited the way that they did the early access cycle with how Hades 1 turned out, which is why they're like, yep, and that's why we're going to do it again because it worked great the first time. Why would we change that?
And maybe you can talk me out of this. Maybe I'll be open to changing my mind, but I think a sequel to a roguelike is a hard sell for me in general. That's part A, but I think part B is that like I don't know, man. I had the Hades experience, and the Hades experience is so replayable and fun that I feel like I don't want a different character with different abilities and different. I feel like in my heart, I just am gonna play Hades 1 if I ever get the itch to play Hades more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, I think it's an experience where like you'll pick it up, and I think they're trying to differentiate it from the first game enough, where it's not just more Hades. Like I don't think, oh gosh, I don't know the new main character's name, whatever her name is. I think she just kind of fundamentally plays and moves a little bit differently than Zagreus does. And obviously it's all new weapons and abilities and boons and blah, blah, blah. So there will be like some returning familiar faces because of the pantheon of gods that we already saw, but also a whole bunch of new ones. I've seen, not a bunch, but like I've seen a fair amount of Hades 2 gameplay at like some of the earlier points in early access. I haven't watched since whatever the latest like Olympian update or whatever it was they just released not that long ago. I have no idea what they changed or added, but it still looks pretty cool, and it does look fun, and I'm definitely going to play it when it drops. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling
wish
that
them the
you'll
best.
probably see it and be like, that does look pretty cool. And you'll probably change
might.
your mind.
It's interesting. Some games I feel like I don't want a sequel to, especially if they're like endlessly replayable. It's the same. I have the same thing with like they're like, "Oh, Slay the Spire 2 is coming out." And I'm like, "I don't want Slay the Spire 2. I already have Slay the Spire, and it's so perfect and unbelievably good. And if I ever want to play it, I can just play it more." And I don't know. Some games I don't want a sequel to, and I feel like I don't want one to Hades, but I'm open to changing my mind about that if it comes out and blows my face off, you know?
Yeah, here's the thing. I get your sentiment, like, fundamentally, but I think you cannot hold any more of this item. Oh, man. Look at that. I didn't even know I could do that. I think fundamentally my aversion to sequels or anything like that always really just comes down to like, well, it's the same idea of like somebody remaking like a movie or a game or whatever. It's like, okay, just don't do it bad.
Yeah.
Like here's because if Hades 2 comes out and it's like really good and everyone's talking about how much you'd love it, you'll probably be like, all right, I'll give it a try. Like at a certain
I
point,
probably will.
you'll probably do
Probably
that.
will.
You know what I mean? So if that's the case, it's really not about like, oh, well, do I really want a sequel to this thing? It's like, do I think you can make more of this that's still good? Is kind of usually what it boils down to, at least for me. And as long as the actual answer to that question is yes, then whatever. Like, even if I'm like, I don't know, man, one of the next games on our list is the 5th game in a series. And 5 is normally far too many, but 5 is the best one in that series. So, you know.
Up next.
Up next.
Oh, you're going out of order.
I skipped
Metroid
one.
Dread.
Metroid Dread.
Put up the he skipped one graphic.
He skipped one graphic. Oh,
He
I said it again. Dang it.
Dude, I love this game.
Yeah, you know what's I know you're gonna think that I'm gonna say that I feel differently about this game. I don't. The problem is, I like weirdly I remember so little.
It's a short game.
Yeah, and maybe that's really all it is that I'm just like, wow, is it really that short?
It's very short. It's like an 8-hour game, like tops. That's like if you get kind of lost.
Yeah, I just I feel like I have to play it again because in no way, shape, or form do I think back on my time with Metroid Dread and go, actually, I didn't have as good a time with that game as I thought I did, or anything like that. It's really just one of those like, I'm surprised I don't remember it as well as I do. And my brain immediately goes to, well, that's because you're trying to compare it to the fact that you played Metroid Fusion like 30 times. Of course, you remember that game a lot better. You know, like that's just how it works.
The thing is too about Metroid Dread is they did this amazing magic trick, which is like if you just played it once, you probably felt like that game was really simple and linear because they have like this invisible hand that guides you to the next place you're supposed to go at every turn. So
absolutely. They point you in the at least vague direction of what you should be doing. So there's very little like true, what am I supposed to do, like you would get in the old games.
So it feels like so seamless and smooth, the whole experience, and very, very brief. But see, I know Metroid Dread so well because this game, similar to Astrobot, is one of the few games ever that I finished it and was literally like, cool, I'm just going to start a new game and play it again. And I've probably played Metroid Dread like 6 or 7 times. But like, dude, I just can't. To this day, I still can't get over how good this game feels. Like, when I play Metroid Dread, I go to pick up any other game, and they all feel, like, sluggish and terrible by comparison. Like, I have to reset my expectations, because I just love the feeling of running around with Samus in this game. It feels so unbelievably
Yeah,
good.
you know, it's really funny, because, like, for the most part, I agree with you, and I do remember going on my soapbox about how I wish you could just have a toggle for the I tip my arm 45 degrees in the air so I could move and just do that at the same time.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I'm still a little peeved about that. Hold on, Andy, you're gonna see this on stream in just a second. We got the stinky ring.
It smells stinky, and you can wear it on your left hand.
New name of the episode: the Stinky Ring. Stinky Ring. That's what's coming out at the end of May. Night Rain, Stinky Ring.
If you wear it on your left ring finger, you'll deter ladies from you at the club in 2 ways.
Oh, oh my God, we didn't even talk about. We talked about Elden Ring. We didn't talk about Night Rain. Remember when From Software was like, "What if we made more Elden Ring?"
Is it out yet?
No, it's coming out at the end of May.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
we didn't even mention that.
It's. I mean, dude, people are stoked for it. It's gonna be cool.
I'm pretty amped about it. I know that you don't play online or care about any of that stuff at all, so you're not really interested in it. But
I'll probably be like, it'll be one of those games that I'll be really psyched to like watch people's reviews about, and like if the Game Grumps play it or something like that, I'll like love to watch. I don't think I'll get it, because I don't think I'll be that psyched about it. But like, I'm psyched for all of the people and like all of the previews and stuff I saw of it. feels like, man, they really went out of their way to make a really great different experience that I think people are gonna love, which is awesome.
Yeah, it looks cool. They were like, what if we made Elden Ring faster and a multiplayer thing where you just get to gang up on dudes and with roguelite progression, and then you do it again. And then
Yeah.
and then and then the nameless king from Dark Souls 3 shows up for no reason.
So anyway, that's Metroid Dread, everybody.
Metroid Dread, that game that yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here, do you think Nintendo's ever going to make another 2D Metroid? Remember how
Yeah.
long it took for this one to come out?
I do, because reception to this one was good, and I think it sold pretty well.
Yeah, but the thing is, Metroid's just not a like it is a critically and like I guess nostalgically, for lack of a better term, well remembered franchise and everything, but it's never been like a huge seller. Like it doesn't
This
sell
one
bad.
sold really well. This one sold well for Metroid, so I think.
Well, yeah, but well for Metroid is still like 1/10 of like the worst selling Mario Party. Like,
Right,
ever,
but what I'm
you know?
saying is, if you're like, do I think they're gonna make another one? Probably yes, because this one probably exceeded their expectations, or at least met their expectations, going from the last 2D Metroid to this one. So yeah, they probably are like, yeah, people love this and it sold okay, and the next one we hope will sell just as well. So yeah, I do think they're gonna make another one just based on how well this one sold.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right, because I've always really loved Metroid and 2D Metroid in specific. So I hope that's what happens, but I guess we'll
Me
see.
too. Yeah. All right. Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, the best action game ever, still probably, or at least top 3. Maybe, yeah, at least top 3. At least.
Probably for me on this list, this one is probably like at the very bottom for me. I enjoyed it, and then I was like, cool, I'm done with it. While I liked it, it didn't click with me the same way the rest of the games on this list did, and I'm not sure why personally it didn't work for me as much.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I still I love this franchise. I've loved Devil May Cry for 20 years now. So yeah, no, I definitely don't feel differently about it. In fact, that's one of those games where for me that's just one of those like, should I just boot up Devil May Cry 5 and just do another run? It's one of those,
Yeah.
you know, because you can also play it real quick too. And it's not a huge deal. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much to master in Devil May Cry 5 in a way that's awesome, especially if you're into that. I really think the biggest thing that like stopped me from loving it as much is I'm not as into the whole like style points, like score chase element of those kind of games. It just doesn't hit me as much.
Yeah, and that's very fair. As someone who doesn't play those games with the intention of trying to like max out my style gauge all the time because I'm like not that good at it, it still is fun and feels good to attempt to do that kind of thing. And it's also different because those games become dramatically different as the difficulty levels increase. So you know, I was
Yeah.
never the kind of person who was gonna play those games on Dante Must Die or anything like that. I think I've literally never beaten any of them on Dante Must Die, actually. But I have always played them on whatever the difficulty level right below that is. So what I tend to like to do is do that first playthrough, which I think the base playthrough on. Did you end up playing it on human? I can't remember. Did you bring it down to the easier difficulty before?
I think so, and then I think I did the new game on the higher difficulty and maybe played like halfway through it or something.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I think the way that they did the base difficulty of Devil May Cry 5 was like exactly as hard as that should ever be. Because I struggled with it a little bit. Like I wasn't like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, but it was like a few of those areas without the full move set and all my upgrades and everything already was like, oh, Oh, okay, that's right. I gotta remember like the fundamentals on this, otherwise I'm gonna get crushed, you know. Um, but then as soon as you play the game again, even just on New Game Plus, you do it on the same difficulty. Now you have the whole kit, and at the end of that game, you get both the Devil Trigger and he gets the Devil Bringer back. So you not only have like Buster all the time and a way to do the grab, but you now also have the breaker system, which was new for 5 from 4 with Nero. Dante's kit is enormous. So by the time you finally like actually level that stuff up, you're probably like on playthrough number 3 or 4 at least, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
do feel like
yeah.
it's a must if you like action games, and I feel like it's another game similar to like what we've spoken about today of just like it kind of like captures a little bit about what was cool about video games from a long time ago in a modern way. Like it's all about the fun, and like that I really appreciate it, and I love the camp too. Like I love all the campy stuff the game does as well.
Oh, you know, there's the small part of me that wishes that you didn't say that this one, not to say that you said that you didn't like the game or whatever, but that it was at the bottom of your list here, because like there is a small part of me that's like, oh, Andy, it would be so fun to go back through the other Devil May Cry games.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I would enjoy that. It would be maybe also kind of funny to be like, hey, Andy, you wanna boot up 2 for about 15 minutes because that's all you're gonna need.
oh yeah, I've heard tell of Devil May Cry
Oh
too.
yeah, all you gotta do is like, because the first one is kind of weird because it was originally gonna be a Resident Evil 4. It was one of the multiple prototypes that turned into a completely different Capcom franchise of Resident Evil 4. So you can still feel the weird, like, vague Resident Evil element to it, and it's a little bit less action based, and it's a lot more on the like spooky gothic horror kind of thing. Um, and it's a little bit less over the top. And then Devil May Cry 2 happens, and you can pick up the controller and run around in it for literally 10 seconds and go, "Oh my god, what happened?"
Yeah.
It's literally like, what in the world like was anyone thinking? And then Devil May Cry 3 basically was like, what if we defined how action games are going to get made from this point forward? And that's kind of what
Yeah.
4 and 5 end up feeling a lot like. So
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate it. It was a fun game. I'm really glad I played it, if only for like I've never played a Devil May Cry game besides this one. Good stuff. Good game.
yeah, man, great game. Yeah, like you said, if you're an action game fan, it is literally a must play. The only other thing that I can think that I'd be curious to see what your opinions of it are would be if you ever eventually played Bayonetta, since those two franchises are inextricably linked in their own weird way.
Yeah. Maybe someday.
Yeah, those games are pretty good.
All right. So the final game, the first game we talked about ever on this show, which is Sea of Stars, and this one's probably interesting to talk about because there's been so much space since this game has come out, and I feel like there's been a lot of discourse about. And I also feel like what's interesting is this game was not as well received, generally speaking. Not at least not as much as I really liked it. You know.
Yeah, I do remember seeing a lot of people, at least a little bit after the fact, just talking a lot of smack about Sea of Stars. And I really didn't understand a lot of, like, I think what a bunch of the complaints were. But one that I guess did start to resonate with me after I read it, because, like you said, with a little bit of space from the game and then also seeing somebody else say it, a lot of people complained about the the main characters who, if I remember right, I had literally just beaten the game hours prior. You were here physically, and we recorded the first one in person.
Yeah.
And we couldn't remember the names of the main characters.
Yeah. Which.
And that extends, now that I'm realizing it, to their characters as a whole. They are nothing and no one at all. They exist purely to be like someone for like Garl or another character to talk at, so that the other characters don't have to look directly into the camera and talk to you. That is the only reason they exist. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird. It also doesn't bother me personally that we have what are effectively silent protagonists, but I can see why that would be a letdown for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it would be less of a big deal if it wasn't like a story-driven RPG. You know what I mean? It would be like, all right, I can live with that. Like the character being like a pair of pants for somebody to for you to step into to like take your place in the world and be there. You know, that's all fine. It's just it's weird because like the silent protagonist is also a thing, and like that bothers me less than I guess the weird like it almost seems like they were just trying to have their cake and eat it too, you know? And it's not like the worst thing in the world. It's not like I suddenly think it's an awful game because of all this. It's just a very strange thing that sort of does kind of sour my opinion of at least like the way that the plot and everything played out, you know? Like it just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I think the world and all the stuff that happens in the world and like a bunch of like the background world building and like the stuff that you find in like the like oh, I can't remember the one character's name who tells like all the cool stories when you find stuff, like all of those and like the background lore of like what has happened in the world is like some incredibly cool stuff. And then somehow we have two main characters who I can't remember their names or any actual distinctive traits about them other than sun and moon, you know.
Yeah, I think the closest comparison point, and this might be weird, but we talked about this on the episode too, is I feel like the closest comparison is honestly more like the like Superstar Saga, like the Mario and Luigi games, where I feel like at the end of the day, 80% of this game's focus was just like how do we make a fun, compelling gameplay first RPG. Um and like I think the story and the lore, like you said, there's a lot of good stuff to speak of, but at the end of the day it was like the game is all about the experience of playing the game and going to cool locations, going on an adventure, and like really fun gameplay throughout. So while I understand people's frustrations with the stories and characters, I don't know. I enjoyed them. I found them serviceable. I even found some of the plot like really compelling and moving. But like, I don't know. All of that was extra to me because I was just like, man, like, look how fun this game is to play. you know?
Yeah, and here's the thing, I agree with you. It's like every quality of life and streamlined feature I can think of in an RPG of anything even vaguely in this style, all in one place. And I think the thing that I
Yeah.
remarked on in the original episode of just like the way that the dungeon design worked and the way that they did like their shortcuts. So like you go in and you do all your different sections of the dungeon and it all kind of like spiral out and fold back in on itself. And at the end of the dungeon, when you were done, you would be able to walk in the front door and right through that main room to the exit to get to the next area because they designed everything to be convenient in that way where it's just like, hey, if you want to come back here, here's the content area, but if you literally just have to walk in here and talk to this one guy and leave, you can do that super easy too. I thought it was
Yeah.
remarkable how like on every level they just simplified all the annoying crap that you would normally have to do in that kind of game, and they just made it, if not fun, at least more tolerable than it otherwise would have been. I think we
And
already talked. It's strange the amount of quality of life stuff they did, only to have the like the parrot that tells you where the rainbow conches thing be like the most obtuse, archaic, almost useless way of helping you find secrets I can think of in any video game.
yeah, and I almost hope they like patched that in. I don't know if they fixed him, but yeah, I just think like I don't know, the thing this game is actually doing, I feel like is so ambitious. Like I don't know, just even when you run around the overworld and you can like climb up ledges and your characters walk across ropes and you get these like overworld abilities that almost feel like Zelda abilities and stuff. and the way you seamlessly go in and out of combat. I just feel like the whole construction of like the world and the thing they were trying to do is so ambitious and so well done. I still feel like as I pull up gameplay, I'm like, man, there's no other game like this on this level. It's just so cool. Like while it falls short in these other areas, I just feel like the areas they were really aiming for are so awesome.
They changed the way that the specific the locks work and everything in combat too. Like I think they expanded on that a little bit with a patch at some point. And they are releasing they did some other patch sometime I think late last year in the fall. I don't remember exactly what they added, but they are adding more content and I think you can actually do the game co-op where like one person would be
Yes.
like one party
Yeah.
member or whatever, another person would just be another party member in combat as well.
You could
So
do 3-player co-op.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
cool. And I don't know what that expansion is going to be, whether it's going to be the same characters or if it's going to be like another little chapter in that world with some new folks. I'm not sure. I haven't paid enough attention to that to know for sure, but I think that update's also going to be free if I'm not mistaken. So I think this will
Yeah, I
be
think so.
yet another one that we should probably come back to at some point once that happens, just because I think it'll be interesting for me to reevaluate some of those feelings. Maybe if whatever this new DLC is does have a like notable story component to it, maybe I'll feel a little bit differently about how they do it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
I don't know. It's a
definitely
great game.
personally Yeah, I'm personally saddened by how much people were let down by this game, and like everyone's entitled to however they want to feel about it. But to me, it's so I don't know. I think it's just a feat, and like even though you look at it and you're like, oh, they're clearly taking inspiration from Chrono Trigger and all these other places. I guess mainly Chrono Trigger. It feels like such its own thing in a spectacular way, and like I love this game. I had so much fun with it. I'll always remember how much fun I had with it. Um, there's a coworker I work with. This is an offshoot story, but I didn't really realize she was like big into video games like I was. And right when this game came out, I remember her being like, "Yeah, like me and my husband are into games, and we just started playing this game. I don't know if you've heard of it called Sea of Stars." And I was like, "Have I heard of it?" And every time I see her now, she's pretty like notorious for not finishing video games. Every time I see her or talk to her, I'm like, "So did you finish Sea of Stars yet?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a game where I guess like in my head it'd be like, oh, I can't wait to like go all the way back through that and play it at another time, you know. But I definitely will play the additional content when that does come out. And I would recommend it to people who like that kind of action combat thing in their RPGs, you know. It's just a fun way to keep a thing that would otherwise just be picking things in a menu over and over again, engaging. And forces some amount of execution. Yeah, I don't know. That goes a long way for me. I feel like you can have an interesting combat system with just, you know, menu based. I'm going to pick this attack and yada yada yada, you know, turn based stuff. Like that's got its place, but I'm always going to prefer like an execution based something, you know. So adding just a touch of that into an otherwise menu based RPG, it adds a lot of flavor, you know, in my opinion. So
I think the thing it does for me is I prefer the execution, but I think the reason I like the execution piece is because all right, stick with me because I don't know if this is like a bit of a weird tangent, but I'm curious what you think. Like in any turn-based RPG, choosing just the regular attack is always going to be the least interesting option. So I feel like that's like a core dilemma to turn-based RPGs. So I feel like anything you can do to make the attack option a viable option is great. And I feel like even Chrono Trigger is a good example of the attack option being a great option because you might want to first of all the attack option it always does a ton of damage, like it does a good amount of damage that would be worthwhile, and you're sometimes weighing whether you want to do like an attack versus save up time for a combo. And I feel like the execution for me while it is fun, I feel like it solves the biggest problem, which is like, oh, well, now the attack option is interesting because it's a worthwhile option and it's fun to execute.
I think
Does that
that
make
makes
sense?
sense. Yeah, I followed you there. I didn't think that was too big of a tangent. Yeah, you're making sure that the tools that everyone is using is actually interesting, you know,
Yeah.
rather than just tools.
Because think
So
about it, who in what Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest game or whatever just wants to just hit A to hit attack? It's never like an interesting or fun choice unless you're like, well, my character has a cool weapon that has like an interesting effect or something. Like there needs to be a reason. Otherwise, it's just more fun to find a cool magic option.
yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. I really can't argue with that almost at all. For all the same reasons that I think having like an execution input for your your character is always going to be just more interesting. It's like, yeah, I would like my options to all feel viable rather than, well, here's a button I'm never going to hit. I'm never going to hit
Right.
it, then why is it there, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So that's certainly, I think that's certainly part of it. But I really love Sea of Stars. I personally am looking forward to replay it someday. I don't know what day that'll be, but especially when I uh can play co-op with someone else, like that's gonna be awesome. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that, oh man, that really did take us through the whole list, didn't it? So we did what? We did 10 games before. We still haven't, we have said already that we intend on doing Final Fantasy VII at some point. We will probably be talking about that as we go in the future.
Yeah.
Rather, and then eventually cap it off with something bigger because, you know, Final Fantasy VII is an institution. So there'll be plenty to talk about one way or the other.
Yeah. It is on my list, but I am so far down the Monster Hunter rabbit hole, and I just don't know when I'm gonna snap out of it. But I will someday, and God, and there's also like Switch stuff to look forward to this year. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting year, especially because like everything is up in the air currently. You know.
uh, that DNF dual action game, Kazan the First Berserker, comes out tomorrow, 2 days from now, I
Yeah,
think.
I saw some previews and reviews of it and stuff, and it looks cool.
Yeah, they got that like pay extra money and you can play the game 3 days early. I'm like, oh god, oh capitalism's a nightmare and I hate it here. Um,
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, and I played the demo for that and I really dug that and that game and what I was playing. Oh, by the way, I don't think I ever said what I was actually playing. This has been Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which I just got on sale. Because I never actually played it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a game kind of like that. In the grand scheme of things, is it even actually? Is it made by Koei Tecmo? Now I have to look, because that would be really funny if it's like it's the same developers, it's the same people. Oh, where's Steam?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
can't find Steam. It's gone.
And
It's over.
Silksong comes out this year, so that's exciting.
Ooh. Oh,
I love
you
texting you
can't. Here's
once
the
a
thing.
week about Silksong.
You can't just say that into the internet and
Can't I?
expect there not to be consequences. That's all I'm saying. They
Good.
just
Let's get some
delayed it by
consequences
another
up in this
year because you said
bucket.
that.
Look, bro, I'm just saying. I love talking with you about the possibility that Silksong might not be real because that's hilarious.
That's my favorite conspiracy in the world.
Yeah.
Is
I
that Silksong is not real and that it's not a real game and the footage that we got all those years ago. By the way, this is not a popular internet conspiracy or something like that. This is mine. This is I sat down and I went, I think the funniest thing in the world would be if Silksong wasn't real.
it would be hilarious. And like, yeah, I
It would
think
be so
I do
funny.
think. See, okay, I've said this for many years, and I feel like I wasn't that certain. I think I'm pretty certain it's coming out this year, and I think if it doesn't come out this year, then I am unironically going to be like, yeah, it definitely doesn't exist because it can't have gone on this long and still exist. If we're talking about 2026, Like, no, something happened, and it doesn't exist anymore.
The screenshot of somebody responding to the Xbox Game Pass Twitter account a couple years ago when they showed off. They're like, "Yep, it's Silk Song." Because they had said every game that we show off today will be out within a year of this conference, and they showed Silk Song, and everyone lost their minds because they're like, "Oh my god, it's coming out within the next year." And someone tweeted at them. They said, "Hey, just to be clear, Silk Song is in that list. Is what you're saying that game will come out within a year of this trailer?" And then Xbox responded with, "Yes, that is exactly what we are saying."
I do remember that.
It's the funniest screenshot that could ever exist with all the timestamps in it, because every day the distance from that tweet gets longer. It is eternal and timeless so long as Silk Song no longer or is not out. And it will make me laugh every time.
Yeah. I mean,
Listen, guys, I'm sorry for all the people who really want Silk Song to come out. I'm sure it'd be awesome, but I'm just trying to let you know before you get hurt that it doesn't exist and it's not real, and you shouldn't prepare for it because you're just gonna disappoint yourself.
I think what would be even funnier is, like, I'd love it if the developers, like, the game was done, like, it's been done for a long time, and they're like, all right,
we just sat on it for like 4 years.
Well, if they were like, we will release it when there is a Nintendo Direct and our fans are well behaved. When one goes by that our fans don't act like huge pricks on a Nintendo Direct and leave horrifying comments, then we'll release it to reward them.
Oh my
that will
god,
never happen.
the sword of Damocles. Silk Song.
Yeah, like when our community finally stops acting unhinged and starts acting like grown adults, we will release it for them, and that'll just never happen because they'll never behave.
Or no, it's either that or it's every single time somebody tweets at us or says something unhinged on the Silk Song subreddit or something like that. They take they take an existing element of the game and they just change it. So like there was a Silk Song that was done, and now there's a Ship of Theseus Silk Song that is what they made after the internet just could never behave. They're like, "Listen guys, we've made like 3 or 4 games at this point. It's unreal. Too bad you'll never see any of them."
I feel like that's the craziest option. Is what if it comes out and it's actually like a early 3D looking game, or it's like a turn-based. Like, what if they did that? Would be the only way.
It's gonna be an RTS, dude.
More unhinged. That would be.
It's gonna be an RTS. If it's an RTS, I will eat my shoes. All of them.
Are we ever gonna do Hollow Knight for the show? I mean,
probably not, because I can't play that game.
Why?
Just the principle.
The principle? Come on. Get out of here.
How am I going to play the prequel of this imaginary game? What are you talking about? It's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
You want me to play a prequel to an imaginary game? Get out of here. Are you some kind of psycho?
This show is over. I'm going to bed. This is this has
there's
been
no
a
more episodes.
Nightmare.
We're done.
Whoever
Episode
you
Lucky
are,
13.
If you watch this, God help you. Don't ever watch us again, because I can't believe anyone would watch this.
I hope whatever nonsense that we've been saying and doing here today, what would be really funny? Because I don't remember ever asking you. I know you mentioned you were checking the audio. I never asked you if it sounded good. The only thing that would be funnier than anything else is if somehow after all this, I go and I look at the VOD and it's like, I'm not talking at all. It's just you.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
That would be really funny.
Anyway, I think it sounded okay, but this this was an insane episode. Kind of long, and the next one, we don't know what the next one will be. It might be a chill out zone 1, but hopefully it'll be Final Fantasy 7 or something more pointed. I feel like my prediction is we're both, and I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like similar to like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown or Astrobot, I feel like something's going to come out that's going to take us both by storm, and we're going to want to talk about it. It's possible that doesn't happen, but
You know what's gonna be
thinking-
really funny is when like you start playing Stranger of Paradise like I've been playing. And you're just like, wait a minute, I really like this game.
It looks fun. If it runs on Steam Deck, I might play it. In fact, this equipment screen looks like a lot like Monster Hunter weapons, and it's kind of messing with my head.
Oh yeah, here's the thing. It's the one thing that I think all the this is made by like the team that made Neo and Neo 2, and they basically have their own like subset of Souls like type thing at this point. Wolong Fallen Dynasty is also like that. Rise of the Ronin, I think, just came out. And they're all kind of like the, in the same way that if you picked up Dark Souls, then you picked up Elden Ring, you go, oh, okay, got it. I know what we're doing here. That's what these are, except this one's a Final Fantasy one, and the combat is based on Final Fantasy classes and stuff, and less complicated because Neo has like, you'll do like a build, and then you'll build around like a weapon type, basically, and then also around that weapon type, you can hold the weapon high, medium, or low, and they're completely different movesets with different strengths and stuff. So you'll like build around like a high stance axe or something like that. And it's really complex, and there's a key recovery component to it and everything. And even as somebody who likes his fancy combat, I was like, that's a whole lot. And this game has none of that.
It looks fun.
It's much simpler.
I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely a little weird and jarring to get used to at first. If you think it's gonna play like a Souls or anything, is as you can see, it's really fast. It's like a really fast action game. So, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
you'll probably enjoy it.
Tommy, this was uplifting and exhausting as always.
we didn't quite get into terrifying topics again like we did for a little while last time.
You almost did. I steered you away at some.
I
key
did
moments.
have one moment where I was like, "Wow, this is the one where Tommy's going to sound like he's trying to unalive himself for a brief moment." But
Yeah, I steered you away from it. It almost happened.
oops.
I was like, "Oh look, turn-based combat.
Oh.
Look over here."
Oh, jeez.
All right. Well, good night, everybody, and good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. Stay safe out there and play video games.
I don't know why I said that.
I don't know why you said it either, but I'm rolling with it.
It just surprised me when it came out of my mouth.
Oh God! All right. Good night, everybody. Enjoy whatever it is that you're doing and will do and have been doing, and keep doing it.
Bye.
Bye.